Okay, it's not snowing or raining or anything. What's moving in front of the camera are all the entities in the air. There is no snow, rain, sleet or anything like that. It's cloudy but dry out. Just gonna back up, see if that's the same tree. There's 3 or 4, maybe 5 trees there. And it's the same general area. It keeps shifting from one tree to the other, but basically in the same general area. I see 3 clusters. I see a big one that keeps coming at me as a hexahedron. I see 2 more on the lower right side of it. First one being a little bigger than the other one. That's farther out. And the biggest one is the hexahedron that keeps coming at me. There's a lot of organisms in the air, all over the place. They're probably all over me. This whole area is infested. There's so many, they must be on every single thing in sight. I'm at 80x using a Canon. This is my limit for intelligence zoom. I can't go any further. It's a Canon lens. Just back up to show where it is. Okay, there's a cluster of trees. I don't even know if they're trees anymore because they've eaten all the trees around here. So that could just be a holographic projection of trees because most of the trees are gone. This is right smack in the middle of a residential area, upscale at that. There's a golf course right next to it. It's private. That may be a part of the golf course. That whole treed area there could be just a part of the golf course. I'm not sure. I'm not a member. The larger hexahedron is about 10 feet in diameter. That's a large tree or a cluster of trees, and that's 10 feet, the large one. And when it blows up into a hexahedron shape, then it's even larger, but it's 10 feet just the way it is as a cluster. And the other 2 are about maybe 2 feet each or something like that. They're a few kilometers away from me. Maybe 2, maybe 3. It's hard to tell with the snow on the ground. But this is at 80x and it's my limit. I can't go any closer. It's not attacking me as much as the other day, but then I haven't snapped any shots. I'm going to try and take some photos, see what happens. Yeah. Doesn't like still photos. Right away, trigger. Yeah, when it does that, it's like 10. Because it projects itself halfway to me. Hexahedron. That's a hexahedron shape. Yeah, he doesn't want me to see over there. I'm gonna back off. Okay, I'm at like less than 20x. Look at the size of that thing. That was at 18x. Okay, I'm like at about 10x. And 5x. I'll take one all the way back. See if anything shows up. Look at all those organisms just streaming by. Millions of them, billions of them. The air is so saturated, there's nothing else but them. Pretty soon we won't be able to take a breath of air. We'll be choking on them. In another few months, there'll be so many of them you won't be able to breathe. Look how many are just streaming past all over, just everywhere. There's billions of them. Just in that one little sector, there's billions and billions and billions. And they're going so fast, that's why they're hard to see. They're at a much higher vibrational frequency. I have to slow the video down like 3 or 4 times to just catch their movement. That's how fast they're traveling. And that's nothing, they can go a lot faster than that. This is just what they do, going around that nucleus. That cluster that's glowing is the nucleus, and all the rest of them, that whole area there in those woods, that's all part of one large cluster. All those woods that you see, that whole area there, well, that hexahedron there is the nucleus for all of them. So that whole area there, all the entities in that area are swarming around that cluster, and friction and the speed of their rotations around the cluster and their orbits, it makes the cluster glow. That's what charges up the cluster nucleus. And those 2 other smaller ones, they act as particle accelerators, because the particles get beamed back and forth between the large cluster and them, and then they get spat out when they're charged up. So they spit them back and forth to each other lots of times, charge them up, and then spit them out and take in new particles. And that's how they charge up for the night. There's an awful lot of them. You can see them just streaming. So they enter into the accelerator depleted, and they go out charged, and then they can fly in the atmosphere all night long. And if they run out of power, these things then go up into the atmosphere themselves and charge them up there. But this is where they start, just at dusk. They power them up. During the day they power them up, but they're hard to see during the day because if there's sunlight or anything, it's pretty much the same color and they're very hard to see. But I've taken lots of videos of them in the daytime. So they do this 24/7. There's no stopping. It's just that in the daytime with sunlight it's harder to see them because they're practically transparent. But other than that, they're there all the time. This is going on and has been going on for years. Look how many there are. The camera can't even pierce through them all. It just gets more and more blurry and darker, but that's just the amount of them in the air is increasing. And there's nothing wrong with this camera. It's just the sheer amount of them in the way that I can't take a good video or a picture, because there's so many of them you can't even pierce through to see what's over there. I have to back up to see. Look how many there are. All those trees there, they're not real. See, look, they even give electromagnetic feedback. They shoot pulses. Most of those trees are not even real. They're all holographic projections. They ate all the trees, especially those that are right under the hexahedron and in the back of it, those tall trees. They've all been eaten. There's just zillions of them all over. You can just see them streaming right past the lens and all over this entire area. All of Toronto's like this. There's no different place anywhere where you can't find them. They're everywhere. Look how many that is. They're just streaming. The air is starting to look like water because it's so full of them. There's just zillions of them all over. Just everywhere. And they're spinning around that, orbiting that nucleus, the hexahedron, and then they get charged up as they pass through the hexahedron, and the other two smaller hexahedrons, they're hiding now behind that one. And that's what I call a particle accelerator, because what they do is they get accelerated and charged up, and then they can fly all night up in the atmosphere. And that happens in the daytime too, but it's just harder to see the clusters. So many of those trees that you see right there, they're not even real. They've all been eaten. There may be like 5% are real trees, and the rest are holograms. You can clearly see all the entities in the air all over. Just everywhere. Now the other clusters are hiding behind the hexahedron. That's their defense mechanism. They put up the hexahedron and then they hide behind that. They're all individually capable of defending themselves. They have no problem. Okay, these are intelligent, and they're extraterrestrial, and they're interdimensional. I've seen them do all kinds of things, and it's amazing some of the things they can do. So this is nothing to be played around with. It's an intelligent, highly intelligent life form. Doesn't matter that they look like little dots or insects. There's so many of them that we need to worry about that seriously, because there's just more and more of them. I don't know if they're it seems like they're replicating themselves. I have never seen their reproductive cycle, and I've been watching them a long time. It seems they split up and make more of themselves. That's their reproductive cycle. They just split up into more pieces and make even more of themselves. Okay, so that thing is there, and that whole area there where there's where that is in the trees, that whole area is theirs. Okay, that entire area there with all the trees, and all the trees in the back over there, that's all them. There's lots of clusters all over, and they go from there up in the air and you know, pretend that they're planets and stars at night. But it's all them. Our whole sky is sealed off. There's so many of them we can't even see past our atmosphere to see anything in outer space. They've sealed us off like a Ziploc bag, and all we can see is them. Anybody that says different is a nut, because it's all them. There's nothing else but them in the sky. I'm gonna just check that building over there that I took shots of yesterday, because there was a lot of okay, now this is on the south side of the balcony. That was on the west before, where that cluster is. It's on the southwest side. So now I'm gonna go, let's see, downtown to that building. Okay, there's the building. So on top of that building there's like a virtual station, and it's dead center on top of the building, and there's usually an alien hanging out on the balcony. I don't know if he's there now. He's not there all the time, but there's one on top. I'll go for the one on top and see if I can see him. You see? Right away I get those electromagnetic pulses right at me. Okay, I can see all the entities flying around in the air, even there. They're all over the place. See? They don't want me to see over there. Okay, so that there is a huge antenna, and that there next to the hut is a makeshift. It's a makeshift antenna, and there's somebody in that hut, but I could never get them because they never come out. But there's one that's outside the hut, and he's right there next to the virtual reality projector there. I'm gonna center him right dead center. Okay, it's the front portion of the makeshift antenna. There's a little alien hiding right there. I think it's a gray. And then there should be one over here on the balcony somewhere. I can't see it. Many of these organisms all over that you can no longer see. Forget about taking a long distance shot in Toronto, because all you're going to wind up getting is a blur, because there's so many of these entities all over. So I'm going to just take some still shots, and later I'll show how many entities there are in the air. I take a still shot, it just captures them. Okay, right there is a concentration. Okay, there's a cluster right there. There's a real heavy concentration right there, so you can't even see. Yeah, there's a few clusters right there. Those are not lights in the apartment, those are clusters. If they're in the apartment, then they're in the apartment, they're hunting. Because they can look like people or anybody. They have no problem changing shape. Take a shot of the CN Tower. Look at that. You can't even see the CN Tower. That's how many of them there are. There's the CN Tower. That's the tallest structure. It was the tallest structure in the world for like 20 years. And now you can't even see it. That's of these things there are. You can't even see a structure that's like at least 100, maybe more feet tall. I've been to that restaurant lots of times. You can't even see it. I'm gonna back up just to show that you can't even see it. You can't see anything. Look there. Okay, see. Wow, you see the strong electromagnetic pulses those things are emitting? Can't see anything. So there's the CN Tower, if they ever stopped with the interruptions. Okay, so you can barely see the CN Tower. That's how many of these things are in the air. It's like you can't see half of Toronto. All the big buildings downtown, you can't even see them. And that's not fog. People keep thinking it's fog, but that's no fog. That's not a natural fog. That's a fog created by these things. They're the ones that are in the way. See, look, just one electromagnetic pulse after. Right out of that place. Those two apartments there, there's aliens in them. I see aliens. I've taken a lot of pictures there with aliens. Back to over here. Now I'm on the southwest side. Yeah, it's waiting for me, alright. I'm gonna back off some. God. You can clearly see the dots right on top of that tree, and there's nothing around it. It's like in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know if that belongs to the golf course or not, but what they're doing right now is forming clusters, and one after the other they line up and form, and then go up into the atmosphere, and later they'll pretend to be stars of one of the constellations, and sometimes they just hang around by themselves. There's no other stars around them, but people think that it's a star or a planet or something like that, but it's only them, because that's all there is. There's only them. Look how dark it gets, and that's not the night setting in. That's them. There's so many of them that they darken the sky. Because where I am, it's not even dark. It's still light out. But see over there, there's so many that see, that whole area is darker than anywhere else. Watch when I pull back. Shut off my camera. Doesn't want me to show that. Okay, I'm gonna pull back. Look how light it is everywhere else. But in that particular spot there, those woods, look. It's pitch black in there. That's just from the sheer numbers of organisms. Even the light can't penetrate. And that's what's happening to our atmosphere. Pretty soon the light won't be able to penetrate when there's enough of them. They're gonna block off the sun. If there is a sun left, they won't even be able to penetrate through all of them. Look how light it is everywhere else. Okay, look, it's just evening, and it's not dark yet. But over there, look, as soon as I get close to it, it's just pitch black. Whoa, it doesn't like me too much. Not at all. And I don't care. So I'm going to back off again to show how there, you see how dark it is there? Why shouldn't I back off? Now it's frozen my camera, it won't work. Okay, here it goes. Okay, watch as I pull back. Look how light it is everywhere else. It's not even near dark. But in that spot, there's so many of them, it's like pitch black. Look. It's pitch black. That's how many organisms are in the air. Not even light penetrates them. That's zillions and zillions of them that even light can't get through. Well, he doesn't like this camera because they have lots of batteries in it and you can't shut it off that easy, but he shut it off already. They tried to drain the batteries, but this camera has so many of them they can only temporarily shut it off for a second and then I can turn it back on. The other cameras I have to totally replace the batteries because they only have like 2 batteries in them. This has a lot more. Okay, you can see that it's still not dark out. Okay, it's still pretty light out, but these things, look how it gets dark as soon as I go to get near it. Look at that. That's a big cluster already. It's almost ready to leave and go up into the atmosphere. So when that goes up into the atmosphere, it's going to take all those things with it, and they'll be flying around all night over our head and crawling on everything else down here on the ground. That's how many there are. But you can clearly, it disappeared. Oh, there it is. It's coming at me. Okay, I'm just gonna shoot over on this side, see if I can see anything strange. I'm gonna back off. So there's a lot of them right there where that building is. Notice how dark it is there too. That's how you can tell where most of them are. They concentrate in certain areas because that's where they build up their clusters for the night. So there's an awful lot of them in that whole area there. Look at that. It's like all over. Yeah. There's one way back over the roof, and way back in the background there. And that one's going up into the sky. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. I wish I had a camera that would pick up what I can see with my eyes. None of them do. Yeah, that whole area is like loaded. They're all over the place. I'm just taking. I'm gonna lighten this to see I want to see the density of these that are in the air, and I'm shooting at anything in particular right now. I just need the buildings as so that I can see how if these organisms are in the air. Take some of the sky too. How full it is. You can see them just glittering. Let's see what's happening with this cluster now. Just back off. Oh, I am backed off. That's the cluster coming all the way to me. I was backed off. Okay, so it's way up there. It's clearly visible with the naked eye. I don't need a camera. Now I have no zoom at all, so you see how bright it is, and it's in the middle of nowhere. That's either a part of a golf course or a park, and it's only trees there. There's nothing else around. And this is in the middle of like a up-class residential neighborhood, right smack middle in the heart of Toronto, just slightly over to the west of the city center, maybe a few kilometers west of the city center, and that thing is southwest of me a few kilometers, and I can still see it, and look how big and bright it is. Look at that. Yeah, and no, that's not Venus or any other planet or any star or any moon or even a spaceship. That's a cluster, and it's the nucleus of a cluster of living entities that are intelligent, and they're extraterrestrial by origin, and they're interdimensional as well. Highly intelligent. And at the rate they're multiplying, we're going to have serious problems very soon. Very soon. And that's no BS. So we better get on the ball and do something about this. Otherwise we're going to have serious problems very soon. Okay, so that's how far away it is from me. And it's visible with nothing, no zoom. Okay, look at how bright that thing is. There's no other light around it. There's nothing there but trees. And those trees, half of them have been eaten. They're gone. They're only holograms. There's only a few trees left. Okay, now I know it's somewhere on top of me. Can't see anything. There it is. There's a big cluster that's behind the bright one, and they're getting bigger. So you see how they're forming? That's how they form. The particles back and forth between each other, passing them back and forth, charge each other up, and then one cluster splits into two, and that one splits into two, and they can split into more than just two, but that's how they do it. And they just they make more of themselves, like cloning, just like cloning, but they do it every day, all day long, every day, all night, all day. That's all they do is clone each other, clone themselves, I mean. That's why there's so many. And if we don't stop it soon, there's gonna be more of them than we can handle, and then there won't be any room for us on this planet or any other living thing. These things are gonna eat everything up, because all these organisms, they have to eat. They can't live by air alone. Even air will become a commodity with so many of them. We won't be able to breathe. Okay, where did it go? We lost it. There it is. Okay, I am totally frozen now. I'm just gonna back off one more time. Okay, so it's way up there in the woods, right there. And right now it's not very happy with me, and I couldn't care less. So I'm gonna turn off the camera because I'm frozen. That's about the only thing that stops me. Okay. Now you've seen the way the clusters work. Thanks for watching my video.